They didn't miss my graduation. They skipped it. The message came at midnight, short, cold, careless. Too tired from Lee's trip. We'll celebrate next time. Next time. The phrase people use when they think you'll keep waiting. But by sunrise, I was standing behind the university podium, 3 chairs in the front row, 2 empty, one with a single white rose. Cameras flashing, applause echoing. And yet, all I could hear was silence. My name is Ava Reed, 24 years old. And that morning, when the cameras turned toward me, the world finally saw what my family never did. You think you know what it feels like to be invisible. You don't. Not until the moment you shine and realize the people you wanted to see you chose to look away. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew who your parents were, what car they drove, and which daughter they bragged about. My mother, Alina Reed, lived for appearances. She had this belief that if life looked perfect, maybe it was. She'd say things like, "People only treat you the way you present yourself." My father, Martin, believed in silence. He was the kind of man who nodded more than he spoke, always calm, always distant, like he was saving his words for someone more deserving. And then there was Lee. My younger sister, the golden one. The reason Mom smiled a little wider, spoke a little softer, laughed a little louder. I was the older one, the quiet one, the one people described as Lee's sister before they remembered I had a name too. When I turned 10, my birthday cake arrived with bright pink icing. It said, "Congratulations, Lee." Mom had mixed up the bakery order after Lee's dance recital. She laughed, cut me a slice anyway, and said, "We'll do yours next weekend." We never did. That's the day I learned absence can still fill a room. Our house was picture perfect from the outside. White shutters, trimmed hedges, fairy lights that blinked in rhythm. But inside, it ran on comparison. If Lee's laugh was music, mine was static. If she got applause, I got polite nods. Every success of mine was treated like an echo, faint, distant, unimportant. The only one who ever saw me clearly was Grandma Nora. She lived 2 streets away, her home always smelling of cinnamon and soap. "You don't need applause to be valuable, sweetheart," she'd whisper. But I didn't believe her then. Instead, I started working harder, trying to earn what should have been freely given. Grades became my shield. Numbers didn't lie. They didn't choose favorites. By 17, I was staying up late in the garage, fixing old radios and broken clocks, maybe because I wanted to understand how broken things worked, or maybe because I wanted to fix us. But the more I achieved, the quieter my house became. When I won the state essay competition, Mom said, "That's nice. By the way, can you help Lee pack for her trip?" Dad didn't even look up. That silence, that's where the fracture began. When I left for university, I thought I was escaping it. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who didn't know my family, who didn't compare, who just listened. The campus was alive, cobblestone paths, coffee on cold mornings, laughter that echoed through hallways. It felt like freedom. But even there, their silence followed me. The first semester, I sent Mom a photo, me standing under autumn leaves, smiling in front of the library. She replied 3 days later. "Beautiful place. Lee's coach just got a new gig in New York. Isn't that exciting?" Dad added a thumbs-up emoji. That was it. "No, we're proud of you. No, we miss you." Just another reminder that I was orbiting someone else's sun. By my 3rd year, I stopped sending photos. Success feels hollow when the people you want to see at most refuse to look. I threw myself into work. I became a research assistant under Professor Abrams, a woman who taught me that brilliance doesn't need volume. "Data isn't just numbers, Ava," she told me once. "It's people's lives, translated into patterns." She believed in me, more than my family ever had. While other students spent weekends traveling, I stayed in the lab late into the night, scanning old health records for our project. Each line of data was a story proof that silence kills more dreams than failure ever could. Then came the email. Congratulations, Ava Reed. You've been selected as valedictorian. I stared at the screen, my chest tight. For a moment, I imagined calling home, hearing a voice on the other end that sounded proud. So I did. I called. No answer. Texted, waited. Hours later, Mom replied. Sorry, honey. We're in Italy with Lee for her internship. So proud of both our girls. Both. That word hit harder than any insult. That night, my best friend Ria found me on the dorm steps, staring at my phone. You okay? She asked softly. Yeah, I lied. But something inside me cracked. 2 weeks later, another message. Short, almost careless. Too tired from Lee's trip. We'll celebrate next time. I typed back 2 words. Rest well. Not anger, not sarcasm, just surrender. That night, I didn't cry. Didn't even feel hurt. I just sat by the window, watching city lights flicker across the water. And somewhere between exhaustion and clarity, I realized I'd been chasing ghosts. People who were never going to show up, no matter how loud I succeeded. That realization wasn't an ending. It was the beginning. The next morning, I went to the commencement office and requested 3 seats. Will all guests be attending? The woman asked politely. Yes, I said. 1 for Grandma, 1 for Ria, and 1, I paused, for whoever finally shows up. I wrote it neatly on the card. Reserved for who shows up. Ria laughed when she saw it. That's poetic. I smiled. It's honest. In the nights that followed, I wrote my speech. Not to impress, to speak truth. I stayed up until dawn, scribbling on napkins and notepads. I didn't want perfection. I wanted honesty. I wrote about every student who worked 2 jobs, who studied in silence, who learned to find strength in the spaces where love should have been. Professor Abrams read it once and said quietly, You realize this isn't a speech, Ava. It's a mirror. Graduation morning arrived. The sky was painfully blue, the kind that dares you to be happy. Bells echoed across the courtyard. Families waved, cameras flashed, laughter filled the air. I walked with Grandma and Ria, my 2 constants. Between them, the 3rd chair waited. A white rose resting on its seat. It didn't hurt like I expected. It just felt still. Like closure. When my name was called, valedictorian Ava Reed, a wave of applause rose through the crowd. I stepped up to the podium, heart steady, voice soft. Good morning, I began. When they didn't see us, we learned to see each other. The crowd quieted. I spoke about the invisible ones, the students who worked nights, who studied through loneliness, who taught themselves that silence could be armor. I said, the world celebrates loud success, but forgets quiet endurance. We learn early that some chairs stay empty, and when they do, we build new tables. I saw Ria wipe her eyes. Grandma clutched her cane. Silence used to feel like punishment, I said, but now I see it was training, because when no one shows up for you, you learn how to show up for others. The microphone caught the tremor in my voice. I didn't hide it. The truth shouldn't sound perfect. When I finished, the applause was thunder. Not just for me, for every unseen soul who'd learned to stand without applause. The moment that photo hit the internet, me at the podium, 1 empty chair and a single white rose, everything changed. Headlines called it the empty chair speech. Clips went viral. Messages poured in. And then my phone rang. Mom, Dad, Lee. Over and over. Why didn't you tell us? Do you know how this makes us look? You made it sound like we abandoned you. I just stared at the screen. Then I pressed mute. They already said enough, I whispered. That night, Grandma came over. She sat beside me on the couch, newspaper in her hands, the photo already on the front page. You didn't embarrass them, she said softly. You revealed them. Her words sank deep. The next day, Mom texted again. We need to talk. This has gone too far. Now they wanted to talk because the world was watching. So I said, dinner tomorrow, 7 p.m. just us. They arrived late. Of course they did. Dad in his stiff jacket, Mom clutching her purse, Lee quiet behind them. The table was small, simple, soup and bread. 4 plates, 4 chairs. A small wooden sign beside the 4th seat, for who shows up. Mom spoke first. You humiliated us, Ava. Do you know how this feels? I met her eyes. I don't need the world to tell you that. You already knew. Dad sighed. You could have told us you were valedictorian, we'd have come. I smiled faintly. Would you? Because when I won the state award, you were at Lee's recital. When I got the fellowship, you were in Nashville. There's always a reason. Lee looked down. I didn't know it hurt you. It doesn't, I said quietly. Not anymore. Mom's voice trembled. We thought you didn't need us. Independence isn't strength, I said. It's survival. For the first time in my life, the silence that followed didn't feel cruel. It felt honest. I'm not asking for apologies, I said finally. Just consistency. If you say you'll come, come. Don't promise and vanish. Dad nodded slowly. We'll try. That's a start, I said. When they left, the apartment felt lighter. The rose on the table had wilted, soft, fatting, but still beautiful. I replaced it with a new one. Same color, same meaning. By the next week, the world had moved on to another headline. But in my home, the chair stayed. Not as a reminder of who didn't show up, but as an invitation for those who will. A few weeks later, I spoke at a small community event. No cameras, no spotlights, just people. Afterward, a girl my age came up to me. My parents didn't come to my graduation either, she said, but your story made it hurt less. That was the moment I realized my pain had found purpose. At home, I looked at the chair again. Empty, yet full of meaning. Sometimes, when the sunlight hits it just right, it doesn't look empty at all. Mom texted the next Sunday. Dinner next week, early this time. I smiled. Early is good. The next morning, I walked across the quiet courtyard where I once stood behind that podium. The air smelled like coffee and grass, the same as that day. I looked toward the stage and whispered, I'm not bitter, not proud, just certain. They see me now. Because sometimes justice doesn't come as an apology. It comes as clarity. You spend years begging to be seen. Then one day, you stop asking. And the world finally looks. If you've ever waited for someone who never showed up, stop waiting. Build your own seat. Sit proudly. Let them see what they missed.